Hey everybody, welcome to this is our last official Sizzling Summer Hangout because
Hmm.
it's the 18th of September and the next time we meet it will officially be autumn. My name is Kathy Heath and I'm here with my sweet sidekick Tracy Housel. Tracy, how are you today?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing, Kathy?
I'm doing good. I'm kind of digging looking at your back porch too. It's nice to know that you're outside enjoying the day.
Well, I'm screened in, so I'm not quite with the wildlife or anything, but
Yeah, that's kind of nice though. And we twisted Bob Clark's arm. We asked him. Uh, we told him what we wanted to talk about today, and we asked him, please, 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 will you please come and join us? And he graciously said yes. So our good friend and Bob, we're going to start assigning you frequent flyer miles here pretty soon.
Really, I'm on a permanent chair. I'm on a chair with my name on it.
There
That's
you go. There you go. But then our good friend Bob Clark is here with us today. Bob, you just got done celebrating a birthday, so let me officially say in person instead of in a goofy video on your Facebook wall. Happy birthday, my friend. I hope you have many, 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 many more, and that this is your best year yet.
well, thank you so much. And I got so many birthday wishes. I celebrated my 21st birthday for the 23rd time, so it was really fun.
mm,
I'm gonna have to figure that one out.
Yeah, do the math. No, thanks for
Yeah.
having me, guys. I heard what your topic was today, and I really wanted to come because it's really, it's such an important topic for I think a lot of people. So, thanks for having me.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Bob. Whenever you can make it, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, our topic today is oh controversial. I'm thinking because I've heard people be totally adamant about both sides of the coin. You know, let me start by saying that those of us who are in the home business space, um, I have a phone call. It can go to voicemail. Um, those of us who are in the home business space all tend to be human beings. And
are you sure?
yeah, most of us.
Okay, just making sure.
and and we come to this life, we come to this planet fully equipped with the entire gamut of emotions, everything from rage to ecstasy, and we come with those all packaged up inside of us. And in throughout our lives, we're taught how to control certain emotions and how, I mean, who among us hasn't had a parent or a teacher or some significant person in our lives say, "Oh, don't be mad or don't be sad," telling us, that an emotion that we're feeling somehow isn't right. And then we come to this business and we need to totally divorce ourselves, we're told, of our emotions because we can't make a good, clear business decision if we're making it on the basis of our emotions. So I'm of the opinion that there's a happy medium, that we have to feel that it was our emotions and our feelings that brought us to this business, to this space in the first place. It's our emotions and our feelings that allow us to be effective with other people because we genuinely care about them. And yet, at the same time, we're supposed to disconnect from our emotions. And I'm wondering if we should, if it's possible to totally detach from what you're feeling while you're working your business on a day-to-day basis. What do you think about that, Tracy?
You know, I've been thinking about this, and to me, you need to look at both sides of the equation. You need to see what your emotions are telling you, and then what good business sense, good business, what you've learned in business is telling you. When it comes to buying stuff, that to me, that should be pretty emotion free. Because, I mean, as marketers, we want people to buy stuff, so when we write to entice people to buy stuff. But as marketers, we also fall for it.
Yeah, we do.
And we know we're falling for it. So you have to, on the one hand, for those kind of decisions, think, do I need this? Don't get caught up in the moment. But on the other hand, you'll hear people saying, if your why has to make you cry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's certainly emotion.
Mm-hmm.
When you've heard about those who, like the Diane Hockmans, the David Woods, the Rob Fords, the Ray Higdons, what they felt in those times. When Diane had to feed those babies, she was feeling the emotions.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't see how you can totally get rid of emotions from your business. And then there's, most people have like instinct or a gut feeling about something. And I don't know about you, but anytime I don't listen to my gut, I usually regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's emotion. That's part of your emotions too.
Is that part of your emotions, or is that an inner voice or an instinct or an intuition?
Probably somewhere in between.
Yeah.
It's a thought process.
Exactly. Bob, the reason that I accosted you and twisted your arm about coming on today, and I hope you don't mind me being just right out there and honest about it. Last week was the anniversary of the attack on the Twin Towers, and a lot of people pulled back last Wednesday on 9/11, and you recorded a video and you put it on Facebook talking about what you experienced that day, because you were working in one of the New York hospitals when all of the victims started being brought and so forth and so on. And you talked about the impact that still has on you today. But what struck me was you identified precisely what it was that you were feeling. And you conducted your business based on what you were feeling. There were certain things that you did and did not do because you recognized that you were having these feelings and you didn't want these feelings to negatively affect your business. And I thought that was huge. That's why I brought you on today. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you do that. How do you identify what you're feeling and what is and is not going to affect your business?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, Tracy's answer was spot on in so many different ways, because I think, you bring emotions into the business to start with.
Mm-hmm.
People just don't decide one day, hey, I'm going to start a business. That sounds cool. Usually there's some deep emotion behind it. I got to get out of my job. I got to feed my kids. I got to start planning for my retirement. Whatever it is for everybody, there's always something that you're emotional about. It's your why, but it's emotions. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that we can get away from emotions. To answer your first question, I think we have to learn, like you said, to kind of identify what they are and to understand how to use them to your advantage if you can. I don't know, 9/11 was a really personal time for me because as I said in the video, I was at the hospital watching all the relatives of the victims come in with their signs, have you seen this person? And at the time, we didn't know they weren't going to show up, but as it turned out, nobody came to the hospital, or very few people did for help. So, and we saw that for weeks. We saw people with these signs being held up. It was heartbreaking because you knew they weren't going to be there. I don't know, Kathy. I don't know if I have a trick to it. I guess I don't know what the answer is in terms of your emotions, and I think a lot of it is going what feels right to you.
Mm-hmm.
And what Tracy said, going with your gut, what feels right. I've always been pretty good about separating my emotions, my stuff from my personal life and my business as much as possible, and kind of putting up a little bit of a division between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how other people do it. I just do it because I need simplicity in my life. I need simplicity in my business. I need simplicity in my work. I need simplicity in my personal life. So I kind of partition it, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Partitioning feelings is not something that I've ever really been very good at.
Me either.
It doesn't always work.
yeah. Well, let's just say I tend to wear my heart on my sleeve, and people know that about me, who know me well. So I'm not really good at quote unquote hiding my emotions when I'm feeling something. If I'm feeling happy or sad or angry or passionate about something, I mean, people around me, what I'm feeling, generally speaking, you're going to know. What you see is what you get, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to, I can't even remember what the name of it was, but the gentleman was talking about, especially in our space, people tend to think that they have to deny what they're feeling because it's, not good for business. The example that he gave was, like say you're a network marketer and you've got a list of prospects to call, and you call the first prospect and they're not only rude, but you're totally rejected. And we all know that regardless of how many years you've been around the industry, that it bites when that happens. It doesn't feel good. So his point was, if you deny that feeling and just say, oh well, and move on, what happens is inside of us someplace, while we're denying that we feel badly about it, and I dare say that there are probably some people who don't feel badly about it. Let me just say that. But if we deny the fact that we feel badly about it, in the middle of us, it's like we're lying by not admitting that feeling to ourselves. And so what happens behind that is we take the path of least resistance because that's a bad feeling. We feel like we're lying, so we don't want to call the next person because we don't want to lie to people. We were all taught that when we were kids. It's not nice to lie. So the path of least resistance is all of a sudden we find ourselves doing some non-income producing activity instead of owning up to that feeling, identifying it, dealing with it, and then calling the next prospect after that. So you're not lying to yourself so much as you are dealing with that pain of that rejection that you're feeling after that first nasty phone call before you make the next one.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Kathy, I think what you have to do is, first of all, be aware of what you're feeling. Just kind of sit back and just notice it. And then second of all, what I do is I look for trends in the way I react to things.
Mm-hmm.
So if I find myself, which I did at one point in my business, jumping from thing to thing to thing, because this didn't work and this didn't work and this didn't work. There was always a logical explanation for it, but I kept jumping. And then after a while, I was like, maybe it's me. Maybe something in, it's not the businesses. Maybe it's me. And then that's when you start making some progress, and detaching from it is instead of getting caught up in all the great copywriting and the stuff that we all get sucked into, like Tracy said, you have to, after a while, you have to start looking inwards and think, okay, what is going on here? Why do I keep jumping from thing to thing? Why do I keep buying course after course when I don't use it? And you can't just blame it on the good copywriting, because we all make decisions.
Yep.
Right. That's right. I'm glad you mentioned that, Bob, because I made notes again, guys.
Oh wow. Poor
I'm
Bob almost choked there.
She's getting to be like a scientist, Tracy.
She is.
But one of the things I have in my notes is that we have to do a mental check-in, to identify just exactly what it is that we're feeling. And it's not just the negative feelings, guys. Sometimes we're feeling so elated and happy about something that's happening or has gone on that it can really affect the way we come across to people, and really almost make us look like the hypey person who's just bouncing off of, it's the greatest thing ever. I mean, you don't want to do that either. So you can be excited about something and kind of check that, just like if you're upset about something, you need to identify it and deal with it before you start talking to people, because we can totally sabotage ourselves by just letting our feelings run us instead of us managing our feelings. Excuse me. I'm looking at my notes. One of the things that I thought while I was thinking about this topic was, not just in business but in life, how many of my hours do I spend reacting to what I'm feeling or managing what I'm feeling? I mean, it's we tend to be reactive. We tend to, when an emotion pops up, we tend to react to it instead of being aware enough, like you said, Bob, looking inside, being aware of enough that we're having that feeling, good, bad, or indifferent, and identifying the appropriate course of action to take. Which, again, I'm sorry, but it takes me right back to that video that you did last week, Bob. You identified what you were feeling, and you also identified the course of action that you were going to take because of what you were feeling. You didn't sit inactive. You didn't sit on your hands and do nothing, but you identified those things that would be detrimental. Because, again, if you were to deny what you were feeling, you becoming, your subconscious mind would be telling you, hey, you're just a liar, denying that you're not feeling that today. And it would affect everything that you were doing. So I guess I want to know, and I'm sure that the people watching this want to know, how, excuse me, how do you, other than compartmentalizing your life, here's an instance where your professional life spills over into your business life. So how do you identify that and deal with it effectively when something like that hits you?
You want an answer?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I had like a magic answer, because I don't. I think that that video was kind of shot. Honestly, I don't remember everything I said about it because I was just kind of in a haze
Mhm.
when I was doing it, and I was really kind of out of my normal thinking. Um, I can just say, Kath, all it comes down to for me is you look at the situation, you acknowledge what you're feeling, and then you go with what Tracy said. You go with your gut. What's right? What feels right to you? What, if you plan on doing it, what makes you feel bad? It's it's the old thing of how are you feeling when you do something.
Mhm.
If you're feeling good about it, then it's right. If you're not feeling good about it, then it probably isn't right.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a better answer than that. I'm sorry.
Well, no, that's an excellent answer. One of the things I'm sitting here thinking while I'm listening to you talk is that totally flies in the face of people who tell us that we have to be these cold, calculating, clear thinking business people without emotion, because what you're saying and what Tracy has said and what I have said is that you can't just shut off that part of your humanness. You have to learn how to effectively deal with the fact that you have emotions in business. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to let your emotions rule the roost and make all your decisions for you, but I don't think I want to totally separate my feelings from what I do on a day-to-day basis, because my feelings are part of what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
Does that make sense to you, Tracy?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, if your feelings were involved, you wouldn't want to be so successful so you could stay home to take care of your mom. I mean, that's a driving force for you. Not so much now as when the kids were younger. For me, it was so I was available for my nieces and nephews for babysitting when they were little. Um, I want to give a little bit of an exercise maybe to
Mhm.
help the people maybe at least be able to identify the emotions they're feeling. This is something I learned from cognitive psychology. I actually learned about it before I became a psychologist when I was in receiving therapy myself. What you do, this is mainly done with anxiety, but it's a good exercise just to get an idea what is going on in your head. Write down, just like Lynn said I guess probably a month ago now, write down everything that's going on in your head. What are you thinking about whatever it is that you're doing or you don't want to do? And then look at what you did and see what types of emotions you see there. You might be, as Lynn says, you might be doing something or thinking something you're not aware of. A lot of things that stop us in business is fear.
Mhm.
And one of the things you do when you write down what you're seeing in your head, you write it down, is you rewrite it in a positive way. And if it's something you're afraid of, you say, well, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
If you call this prospect, what's the worst that can happen? They could hang the phone up in your ear. Saying that to yourself is different, but like you've said before, writing it out
Mhm.
does just it's that muscle memory. It just does something else. It's another pathway to your brain. You're seeing it, vision. You're talking to yourself. That's hearing, and you're writing. So that's another pathway to your brain.
Right.
And I found that very, very helpful. Whenever I'm doing something that scares me. But it's also helpful of seeing what is going inside my head. Just thought I'd help bring that out just
Yeah.
for a little bit today.
Yeah.
Hey, Kath.
Yeah, Bob.
I feel like it's two different hats you have to wear.
I was sitting here thinking that. I just was sitting here thinking that. It's like you got to be two different people.
I mean, on the one hand, you do have to be business person. You have to know if you're bleeding money every month. You have to know what's working for you and where you're getting your traffic. And if you're bleeding money, what's the biggest culprit, and do you need it? And how can you minimize it? Because you're there to make money. If you're not making money, you don't have a business really. But on the other hand, so many people will tell you that people, especially people in attraction marketing, well, they'll be attracted to who you are. Well, who you are is emotional to me. And if you try to subdue that to the point where you don't have it, you're going to be like a robot talking into the video camera, and not only other robots will be attracted to you if they're whoever they are, but so I think when I'm thinking about my business, I will take some time every month or every 2 weeks or so to look to see what's working, what's not, and what I can change to make it better. But when I'm doing a video or something like that where I'm talking to people, I let my emotions come through.
Yeah,
I think you
too.
have to.
I do. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I know. I also agree that we can't, or we shouldn't, I should say, move forward into something based on emotion. Because I know I've recently, in the last 2 years, I've made a couple of major boo-boos, joining something or becoming a part of something based on what I was feeling, and it ended up, not being a good decision for me because I was wearing my Kathy hat instead of my Heath marketing hat, so to speak. And that's, I think, the line that we need to draw for ourselves. That's how we have to, Bob talked about compartmentalizing things. I think that's what we need to do is realize that when it comes to making those kinds of business decisions, we have to make them as emotion-free as possible. And it's not always going to be that easy to do because 9 times out of 10 it involves somebody that we know, a bunch of marketers that we have a relationship with, or something along those lines. And so you're not going to be able to completely devoid yourself of emotions, but I guess you can do it as best you can.
Yeah, that's the little stick there is the person who you trust who's suggesting it or who's promoting it. And let's face it, I know you've done it, I know I've done it, maybe you guys have done it too. Sometimes you buy something because you want to get in better with somebody, or you want to get closer to them even. And well, maybe I don't need it this much, but I'll get closer to that person. And that's a strategy. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
No, there's not.
It can be a way to get closer to a mentor or however you want to do it. But I've also bought things based on what people have said that I knew I didn't need, but they recommended, so hey, maybe it'll help, because I really respect that person.
Yeah.
And later I've kind of regretted it. So you're right. That's a tough point, that one.
It is. I've joined programs for all the wrong reasons based on my emotions and what I was feeling, and it turned around and bit me in the butt. And I think if we thought about it for longer than about 2.5 seconds, all three of us could come up with the name of one of those programs. But I knew the person. I trusted the person. I eyeball to eyeball with the person. And I made a decision based on the relationship that we had. And he's still a nice guy. Let me just say that. But,
yeah, sometimes it's not that person's fault. It's just not a right fit for you.
Exactly. And I still wish him the best. But the fact of the matter is, it was not a decision that I should have made because I was making it based on emotion.
Hey, Tracy.
Yes.
I wanted your opinion on something because I know you're a psychologist. So, what do you think about? I always feel like a big part of the emotion of doing something is going with the crowd.
Oh yeah.
How would you suggest maybe getting through that? Because that's a big one for me. I see a lot of people
That
doing something, and then, I want to go.
It is. It is. The best thing you can probably do for that is to write a pro and cons list.
That's a good idea.
See, I have them every once in a while.
You know?
Write a pro and cons list. Why would this be a good idea? Why would this not be a good idea? And try not to make that decision that day. Try to make it until the next day. I know sometimes it's not it's not too possible because it's only open for a day, or all that good stuff. But for the most part, you can wait for the next day.
See, the marketers don't want you to think about it.
I know.
Right.
But as we've said before, if something's good, it'll come back around, or something will come around about it that's even better.
Exactly. There's an old expression. It's been around since before any of us were born, and I'm the oldest one here. I'm going to have to sleep on that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of wisdom in that because, and I think we've talked about this before, when we ask ourselves the questions, especially when we go to bed asking a question, while we're sleeping, everything gets resolved, and we wake up in the morning 9 times out of 10 knowing the answer that we're supposed to, what we should do. So sleeping on it is an excellent way to avoid making those kinds of emotional, mistakes.
The impulse will be gone more.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be so quick to click enter the cart.
Yeah.
But if we don't do it before midnight, Tracy, we're gonna miss out.
I hate those little tickers that keep going down.
Yeah, it's that whole fear of loss thing, and recognize, and I'm saying this to those of you out there, not Bob and Tracy, but recognize when you see those tickers going down and you see it's only available till midnight, they're playing on your emotions. They're trying to get you to make an emotional decision. P.S. and by the way, I do it too because everybody responds to that fear of loss. It's just one of our human traits. So if you're feeling like, I have to hurry, relax, take a deep breath. What I do is if something is only good until midnight, I put it out of my mind and set the alarm on my cell phone till like maybe 11:15, and if it still looks as good to me at 11:15 as it did at 10 o'clock in the morning, then I'll go ahead and get it. But I don't, freak out because, oh my gosh, it's only good until midnight tonight. That's one of the things I've done to train myself not to react emotionally. Very good stuff.
Another thing I've done is if I know there's a promotion going on and I know I don't need it, I won't open the emails from those marketers who I know will promote it. I'll just either put them in their own little folder for the ones I do have a folder for, or I'll delete them. Because if I don't see it, it can't entice me.
I knew you were deleting my emails. I knew it.
I do not delete your emails.
I delete Bob's emails all the time. He is such a good copywriter. I mean, he's got me wanting to join his team, and I'm already in the program. So.
I'm still waiting for an answer, Kathy. Oh boy.
But it's true, and there are little tidbits and things that we can do to protect ourselves from I guess there's a difference between the bad emotional decisions and divorcing ourselves completely from our emotions in business, because our emotions, like I said at the very beginning, it's part of being human, and my gosh, we don't want to appear anything less than a caring, compassionate human being when we're dealing with other people.
Hey guys, you know what? We've been talking all the time about making bad decisions about buying stuff or joining more programs, this or that. But what about the emotional decision to quit?
Ooh. that can be almost harder
Mm-hmm.
in most cases, because we had what we thought were good reasons to join. Um, but again, the best way to do it for me is the pro and con list.
Yeah.
And then at least that way you'll see, well, do I want to continue this because what I'm feeling, or do I want to continue this because it's a good decision?
Okay, I'm going to talk about one that's been historically very difficult for me now that you brought that up, Bob. I have joined things. I'm just going to say it like that. I have joined things with people that I'm extremely close to, that I have a relationship with. And when it comes time to making that hard, cold decision, like, this really is not that great for my business, even though I'm able to look at that pro and con list that you're talking about, Trace,
Mm-hmm.
there's something in the middle of me that says,
Yep.
oh, I don't want to disappoint my friend.
Mm-hmm.
So that feeling is difficult to overcome.
Recognizing that's the reason, though, is a huge step in the right direction.
Sure. And then I just do it anyway.
And but half the time, if you go to that person, like I've had that happen where I needed to get out of a program, but I was loyal to the person who I went in with.
Right.
And I did feel that sense of guilt or not wanting to disappoint that person or whatever. And I remember going on and on about it for a couple of weeks and really having it bother me. And in the end, I just ended up talking to that person one-on-one on the phone and explaining my situation. And he's like, leave, go. It's better for you if you do it. Don't worry about me. And it was like this huge weight off my shoulder. But if I just gone there in the first place and talked to him, it would have been a little easier road, So a lot of times we manufacture stuff sometimes.
Well, it's fear, Bob. It's fear.
Uh-huh.
They're not going to like me anymore. They're not going to take my phone calls on me. It's that fear of rejection, and we get all caught up in that. And if we just deal with it openly and honestly, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, they weren't worth it.
Bingo. Absolutely.
We know some people like that too, so whatever.
That's funny.
Oh man. Okay, so I guess the consensus is I don't have to give up my feelings to be a marketer.
No, you don't.
That's good, because there's no way I could. There's no way I could. But rather than being a slave to my feelings, there are certain things that I can do.
I just gotta really
to be a master of them. What did you just get, Bob?
I got a note, weird pop-up that's saying somebody else was using my IP address. I don't know what that's about.
Ooh.
It was me.
What? And how do I get this bill for $500 from Amazon?
Well, we'll talk later.
That Kathy Heath, she's a sneaky one.
It's always my fault, Bob. Don't you know that? I just thought of something, guys. If we totally devoided ourselves of any kind of emotion in business, we wouldn't have the fun that we do.
No.
Absolutely.
True.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And God knows we have a ball.
I think it does all come down to to putting on different hats at different times.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing when to do that. That's the trick.
Which comes from doing that mental check-in, to say, okay, not only what am I feeling right now, but what am I dealing with right now? If you're, and I dare say if you're dealing with a person, it's going to be a whole different task than if you're dealing with, technology or looking at buying a product or, joining a program or putting together a funnel or anything like that. It's going to be different. So those two things, what am I feeling? What am I dealing with? check in with yourself and then act accordingly.
Mhm.
I'm glad we solved that one.
Yep.
Okay, now we can go drink. No, just kidding.
Oh, yeah. I really hope that this was helpful for the folks who are watching because, or who are watching the recording, because I know it's something, especially when I first came to the internet space, when people were telling me, just, forget your feelings, and as a human person, I found that very, very difficult, if not impossible, to do. So I'm hoping that this notion of wearing two different hats, as Bob puts it, will help people. You don't have to deny what you're feeling, but just deal with it honestly, identify it, and act accordingly in a way that's going to benefit you and the people that you're dealing with.
Well said.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I don't know if we're going to have a hangout next week. Tracy said
Blame
she's
me.
running away. Tracy's running away.
I'm not going to be around either, so
See?
Kathy, you got to do one by yourself.
I don't know. I have friends in the UK.
You
who'll come
do.
and join
You
me.
do. You could bring lots of people. By the way, may I say something to both you guys? Is that I have heard so much positive feedback about your hangouts. And that
Really?
you're dealing
Cool.
with issues that really matter to people, that nobody else wants to talk about, but these are the issues that bother people on a day-to-day basis and that stop them. So keep doing what you're doing, guys. It's amazing.
Well, thank you very much.
Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, Tracy and I tend to, honestly, we used to talk about this kind of stuff on the phone
Yeah.
Mhm.
all the time, and it was like, it's got to be bothering other people other than just us.
Yep.
So, the hangouts were born. I thank you for that, Bob. That was really
Thank you very much, Bob.
Sure. Well, that's what I've been hearing.
Well, thanks. And thanks to the folks who are telling Bob.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so let's leave it at this, guys. I'm going to talk to a few friends of mine and see if, we might want to hop on next week, Wednesday. If not, we will be taking a week's break. So watch your emails, watch Facebook, and we'll keep you, posted as to what's going on. But very definitely, if we aren't here next week, we will be back for absolute positive sure on the 2nd of October at 3 in the afternoon Eastern Time, hanging out, talking about the kind of stuff that we think really matters to those of us in the home business space. Until then, have a great week. Enjoy your weekend. We're going apple picking because it's fall here in Ohio. And have a great time. Thank you so much for joining us, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for having me again, guys. I always enjoy being with you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks,
It's
Kathy.
always a pleasure hanging out with you, sweetheart.
Oh, it's the same.
And well, enjoy your nephew's graduation next week.
I will. Thank you very much.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.